Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face, my card making space, and several cards. Waffle Flowers June 2025 release has gone live. I will link to the release in the description box below the video. So many good things, and I only used part of this release along with some oldie but goodie favorites because there was an accessory set that goes with one of my favorite little die sets. Yeah, I went nuts and I couldn't stop. There's a new Postage Collage Stencil set that is also fabulous. If you are not familiar with Waffle Flowers Postage Collage collection, it started a couple years ago. I forget when the first base set was released, but in the time since then, there have been an incredible amount of add-ons. I will link to my master list that I have been editing as the new stuff comes out, and I mark the new products. They're like lower down in my little master list. Waffle Flower also has like a download where you can like print off and check off, which is really nice because again, there is a lot. And I have done many videos using the postage collage, which I will link to my playlist in the end screen at the end of the video to my postage collage playlist that will have all the videos I've done and that I continue to add to as I, make videos and whatnot. So I used that. I used a bunch of the new die sets. I used some of the oldie but goodie stuff, and I splattered everything as I do. And I had a lot of fun. This was just nuts. I was going to do more than one video, and instead I just couldn't stop, and I'm just going to compile it all into one. Everything I used, of course, will also be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That means that if you click on one of my links and then end up placing an order, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That is what helps pay the bills, keeps the lights on, enables me to keep bringing out content. And that's enough chatter for me. Let's get into making the cards. So I started off with the OG Waffle Flower Postage Collage die set. That's what I die cut some smooth white cardstock from. And I've got 2 panels because why not do more than one? So once I've got my 2 die cut pieces, I am going to stick them to one of my Waffle Flower grip mats. And I'm just going to orient them like this because then I can just do the top set and then I would just switch and move the stencil to the bottom. And it's kind of hard to show on camera, but in true Waffle Flower fashion, not only are there etch lines to make everything easier to line up, there's also little guides like saying what is what. Like on the stencil it says like sky, sand, etc. So it gives like color ideas, all the things, just to make life easier, really. So for all my stenciling, I'm using Concord 9th inks today and my Waffle Flower 1 Plus little shader brushes. I actually bought a second set of these brushes and I have one set for lighter shades, one set for darker shades. They do have a set that's double-ended and that works really good too. I just like them like this because I keep them in my little Waffle Flower. You can see it there, the little silicone brush holders. Perfection. So I am going to work my way through using this Postage Collage Coastal Stencil set. This is the new one and it's super cute and I love it. So I have sped this up in editing. I don't move this quickly at all. In fact, most of this video is pretty heavily sped up because I was also just all over the place. Like I said, I started with the intention of only doing like a couple cards and then I do a separate video later. And then once I started going and then I was like, what about this? And just between that and the constant interruptions and just everything going on, my footage is a little bit all over the place as well, but these were so fun. So I also did a little bit of color layering. Like for these reds, I was using Concord 9th. I used Poppy, which is the lighter red, and Cranberry, which is much darker. And then for the little sunshine, I used Buttercup, and then I add a little bit of Clementine. And then for the little seashells, I did a very light hand with Dove and then Nectar. And then, and then just building up the dimension. And then I also used Dove on the anchor, but then I go in with a darker shade. So use that same buttercup on the little lighthouse there. I used Oceanside ink for the water. And again, it's like all labeled right on the stencil. So between that, plus there's like a color guide, I think, with the listing, it's just easy. And then as it all, starts coming together, it's like, this is so ridiculously cute. Like, stop it. So yeah, nectar for a couple of those little seashells there. And you can keep it much simpler. Like, there's a very simple coloring guide, just like I said, on the stencils themselves. So you could do that, or just do that for your first go around, and then, start mixing things up. So for the final stencil, this is supposed to be like all the black detail. I did end up adding, this is I think where I use a pebble, I'm pretty sure, for the like rope around the anchor. And then I use like the same shades of the shells for the little dot details. And then for everything else, I use black just to make it all like pop. So worked my way around and then repeated on the second little die cut panel. So then I've got these 2 panels of these coastal like postage collage. Seriously, who'da thunk? It's just, I can't get over how unbelievably cute these all are. So after I had finished stenciling all of these pieces, I pulled out a couple panels of sea glass cardstock that are A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And on these, I'm using the 2-stepped mixed stripe stencils. The way I use them is the most basic, like just as the stencil is. However, you can kind of see it on screen. There's a lot of etch lines on these, and that's so that you can line them up and like shift the stencils over, because there's 2 stencils, this wider stripe and the more narrow stripe, and you can shift these like back and forth to build a stripe pattern of your choosing. So you could do all wider stripes or all narrow stripes or mix and match. I literally just use them as is. Like, I did that one and then I used the other one and that's it. I didn't shift anything. I don't know. I just kind of liked how that looked. But yeah, the sky's the limit. So you could like clean off the stencil in between, shift it over, and there's all the lines so that everything can be lined up and spaced properly. And then you could switch up the colors, all of that. It would look adorable. Love it. But again, I just kept it simple. So for that, I just used, I stuck with all the same ink. So I'd use the Oceanside ink. I do another panel later. I didn't show it, but I will for the next card using these. And I use that stencil. And for that one, I use the powder blue and mushroom ink with that same 2-step mixed stripe stencil. So just a slightly different background, same stencil, same technique. And then these little guys are from the new Happy Crabs die set. I don't know, y'all. For those that might not be aware, I'm in Saskatchewan, born and raised here in the middle of the prairies, hence the username Prairie Paper and Ink. The ocean is about a 20 to 24 hour drive from here. Canada's a big country. Been to the ocean a few times, but it's kind of not a thing here. However, these are adorable. I had a lot of fun making these. Nautical stuff is just not really a thing for me because, we're just real far. We're just real far, but these little guys are adorable. So I die cut them from Concord 9th cardstocks, layered up the pieces, and look at them. Seriously. And then in that die set, there's little accessories. There's even a little diamond ring. So cute. I didn't use the ring, but I used these little seashells, and I did use the floral as well. And the seashells I die cut just from white cardstock, and I blended the same colors. So that was Nectar and then Dove inks with the same shader 1+ blending brushes. So blended that on to create my little shell accessories. And I didn't show it on camera, but the little floral die that's in the set, I just colored the flower center with a yellow Copic marker. That's it. Just simple. So I've, got all my little bits die cut and, assembled. There's the little flowers. Yeah, just colored the little center with a yellow marker and it was good to go. So one of these postage collage panels, I'm just trimming apart. I've done this either way. I've used a paper trimmer in other videos as well. This time I just grabbed my scissors and just freehanded it. It's fine. So after I cut them apart, I kind of roughly figured out my layout. And then I pulled out, again, this is the OG Postage Collage stamp set, the first one. It's got the cancellation marks. There is other ones. There's many other ones. I've got them in that master list. There is also it's called the Seaside one. I forget, but there's that one as well that I was going to use, and I didn't end up using it today. But I used the like cancellation stamps and the denominations and everything from this little set and the black ink. I've talked about this before with the Postage Collage collection. I don't know why. I really like stamping the cancellation marks on everything. I don't know why. I love it. So I did all of that. And then for the second card I'm going to do with this cut up Postage Collage pieces, I pulled out the Lighthouse little die set. This one's really cute too. It just is. And there's options depending on what you die cut the base from and the panels. You know, you can kind of do your own thing. I just die cut the base from white cardstock, use that same yellow Copic marker to quickly scribble over those little window parts that are already etched into the die cut. So then they'll be yellow. And then layered up all the pieces that I just, again, die cut from white cardstock and that same darker red cardstock. And then the final little detail bits I had die cut from a scrap of black cardstock. And then super easy to assemble because everything's pierced and etched and just fits together like a puzzle, really. So got it all assembled, and yeah, look at this little lighthouse. It's just precious. I love it. So got all my pieces. That little like the big light portion. I had die cut that from the white cardstock as well, and same thing. Colored it with a Copic marker. It was just easier than digging through my scraps for yellow cardstock. So got all of that assembled, and then this one's going to go on the second card front that I did with the two-step mixed stripes stencils. I used a lot of products. My product list is going to be a little bit ridiculous because again, I just kept going. I just kept going and making more and pulling out more things. So anyway, to assemble this guy, I used Big Mama foam tape for my little postage pieces. And then for all the other little bits, I used regular thickness foam squares. So I've got kind of 2 layers of dimension here. So popping them all into place with the foam squares. And then the sentiments, I wasn't filming when I did it, but all I did was white heat emboss them onto some Oceanside cardstock. And the sentiments are from the Coastal Greetings stamp set. And that one, I love the coordinating die set. Has like piercing detail all around the edges, which you can see in the final photos. So it's not just die cutting, it adds like a border of the piercing detail. Love it. However, I'm not adhering the sentiments yet. I put those on at the very end because of course we're going to add splatter. So with the second card front, this is the one that I did on the sea glass cardstock, and I used powder ink and mushroom ink with that 2-step mixed stripe stencil. So just, switching up your colors gives it a different look. And then like I mentioned, you can obviously keep shifting that stencil and create like a full like stripe background. But I don't know, I just liked how it looked as is for these. So anyway, same thing. I used just the Big Mama foam tape to pop up the little postage bits on this. And then all the other elements I popped up with the foam squares. So that just pops them just a little bit higher because regular foam squares are about roughly 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, something like that. Maybe not quite. I always forget, but they're a little bit thicker anyway. And then the little florals, adhered those, and then splatter. So I'm going to put both of these card fronts into my splat box. And I'm going to start with some white gouache, put a little bit of white gouache on my palette, add a little bit of water to thin it down, to get it to the consistency I want, and then splatter that onto both of these card fronts. This is the only splatter I'm going to show in this video. All the other cards, they got their fair share of splatter as well. Gets a little redundant after a while. This is one of those times though where I left the splatter on, or like the gouache on my little palette, and it will dry. The one thing to note though is when you've thinned it out this much, depending on your palette, what you're using, whatever, when it's already been thinned out like this, it will dry. You can reactivate it. It's fine. But just be aware of that like on this little plastic palette, after I let it dry and because it's been thinned out with water, it flakes off. That's what I'm like telling y'all to be aware of, is it can just flake off and literally like fall off wherever. So that's another reason why I don't normally do it. But because I was like basically mass producing a bunch of, you know, all these projects at once, or back to back, not at once. These took a while, but back to back. When I went to clean up after everything was done, I had like little flakes of the gouache here and there. And I was like, what on earth? I'm like, oh yeah, because I let it dry on my palette. So anyway, did the same thing with the black gouache, put it on my palette, watered it down, splattered it onto these card fronts, and then let those dry. And then I added the sentiments with foam squares, and I'll show like the actual insides and everything. I kept the insides simple, just stamped sentiments. That was it. So then for this card, I'm keeping the Postage Collage like together, and I'd stamped the cancellation marks from the Postage Collage stamp set. And then this Just a Note die set is part of the new release. And I stamped die cut the Just a Note from white cardstock 3 times. I adhered 2 layers together to give it some dimension. The outline I had die cut from vellum and then adhered those together. And then the 3rd layer of the white cardstock, I am adhering to the back. And that just pushes the vellum up a little bit, you know, it gives it a little bit, just a smidge, you know, dimension. But it also is going to make it easier for me to adhere it to my finished card because I can put the adhesive on the back of the cardstock and I don't have to mess with the vellum because vellum can get finicky. So once I got that adhered, I can set that aside. And then I'm going to add a little bit of baker's twine to the Postage Collage piece. I'm just going to thread it through. I've done this a bajillion times. All those little holes in between, it's like, it's just made for baker's twine. So threaded some black and white baker's twine through, wrapped it around, and then I'm going to tie it in a bow. So reverse tweezers for the wind to hold that knot, and then make my little bow. Once I'm happy with it, pull it tight, remove the tweezers, pull it tight again, and then trim the tails off with my scissors. And then the card base is also going to be sea glass cardstock. All my cards are A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So directly onto the card base, I pulled out another original stencil set. This is just the Postage Collage coloring stencil. And I'm just using the border here. And I'm inking it up with mushroom ink first, and then using poppy ink. So just to give it that little extra something here on the card base. So got the other stencil lined up and then inked it up with the poppy ink. And then to make the Postage Collage, just give it a little extra pop, I die cut some of the cranberry cardstock with the Postage Collage blocks die set. You could also skip this and just trim down like a piece of red cardstock. It doesn't have to be die cut like this, but you can use this in either way. You could use this on top, so then it kind of covers it up and it's no longer looking like specifically postage stamps, just like so. You know, and if you wanted, you could also like die cut it multiple times and turn it into a shaker using that. That would be kind of fun. But I wanted to put it just on the back. And like I said, you could just like trim down a piece of red cardstock. That works too. But I've got the die. Why not use it? So I'm going to adhere these layers together with the craft tacky glue. And the red cardstock will peek through all those holes as well in between, which is just kind of fun. And then once I've got that into place, I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put the Big Mama foam tape across the back of this. So this also made it kind of nice because then I don't have to cut like little pieces of foam tape, which I've shown in other videos, because you don't want the foam tape like showing through the holes. So now that they're covered up, I can just put these pieces of foam tape. And then I adhered this to the card base and then added the black and white splatter. Once the splatter was dry, I adhered the Just a Note sentiment. And I'll show, there's the finished card for that one. And same thing, I stamped a sentiment on the inside, which I'll show at the end. So I finished those. And then I couldn't stop. So this is another oldie but goodie stencil. This came out, I think it was last year. This is the Sea Foam Stencil. And I have 2 more panels of sea glass cardstock. I could have just done one. So the second panel I actually just put with the stencil. So the next time I go to use it, it's like, ooh, I'll have a background ready to go. Because I only actually needed one of these to make 2 cards. So I use the stencil with powder ink. And then I rotate the stencil 180 degrees and do the exact same thing. And then I get this like watery look. So with this, I was using one of Waffle Flower's like regular size blending brushes because yeah, I'm covering an entire background with this. And then after I've blended this, I am going to die cut it with one of the Wavy Borders dies that also came out at the same time as the stencil, so sometime last year. And like I said, I have everything like listed and linked in the description box below the video. So I ran that through my die cut machine, and then I have 2 pieces, and there was no need to use the other background I did. So like I said, I'm going to save that with the stencil. And then I've got 2 A2 size pieces of wheat cardstock. And then I pulled out, this is the, I gotta like scroll through all my supplies, Inquisitive Seagulls stamp set, because it's got this big speckly sand stamp. So I just put that in acrylic block and stamped that same wheat ink all over this. So that creates my sand. And I actually did a live stream last year. I will link to it in the end screen at the end of this video that shows this technique. So if you want it like to watch it in real time and see it explained, because I did this last year and it was so fun. So first I adhered the water to these backgrounds. And then to create the actual like sea foam, and also to kind of mask the difference between the 2 cardstocks, I took just opaque white paste and a palette knife, and I just literally slap it on. So I just apply it there where the 2 cardstocks join, and then I'm just tapping my palette knife up and down, just up and down, and it's creating texture. And I just have thicker areas of it and thinner areas of it. I'm not applying it that thick, and I'm not using that much at all, but that creates sea foam. Super simple. And if you wanted to get extra with it while it's still wet, you could sprinkle on a little bit of glitter, like either like distressed rock candy glitter or like a little bit of iridescent glitter. That would look really cute too. I would go really light with it, just a smidge of glitter, just like a hint of it, But you would do that while the paste is wet, so the paste can kind of like seal it in. But I didn't do that. I just thought about it while I was watching this, and I was like, some glitter would have been nice. Anyway, so yeah, applied the paste, kept tapping it with my palette knife to create all that fun texture, and then I just have to let the paste dry. And that creates my little like ocean backgrounds here. So to go with all that, I'm using the Inquisitive Pirate add-on die sets. So this one is meant to go with a previous set. And I die cut the treasure chest and all its little accessories, all its treasure, from like a couple shades of brown cardstock. And then the gems I just die cut from like white cardstock and quickly colored with Copic markers. You could use specialty cardstock for those though. That would be really fun. I did use gold cardstock for the actual like treasure and for the coins and things like that. So I assembled my little treasure box and then just like filled it with treasure. Like, cause I die cut things like multiple times just so I could have tons of extra like gems and coins and all the things. I don't know why. I thought this was so cute. So once I get this assembled, in this die set, there's other little accessories that are meant to go with the Inquisitive Seagulls die set. That's when I was so excited. You guys, I squealed when I saw this release, and when I saw the like little pirate add-ons for these guys, because I don't know why I love these seagulls. They are so, it's such a simple little die set, so simple, so basic, but how they managed to capture them looking as derpy as possible, I love it. I love it. And again, I use these in that live stream that I'll have linked in the end screen if you guys want to check it out, because yeah, they just crack me up. So the beaks I blended with just that clementine ink. Their eyes I die cut from scraps of black cardstock and then adhered everything, as you can see. And then yeah, they get accessories. So there's a little pirate hat. Love it. Love it. No notes. Like, adhered him. We're done. We're like, seriously, look at this. And then there's an eye patch. And you can use these with the crabs as well that I used earlier. You can add these to the crabs because they all work, it all works together. Love it. But I had to use these seagulls. I needed to pull them out again because I love them. So the big one, I tucked in a little treasure map. And then this big one, this big crab is the Inquisitive Crab Wafer Die. And you can kind of use some of the accessories on him as well. But yeah, he's huge. I also thought, if you have someone that's into like nautical stuff, ocean themed stuff, whatever, this would make like you could make this into one of those cute little like corner bookmarks. I thought that would be really cute, you know, and just have a fold over a piece of cardstock on the back to make him into a little bookmark. And I was like, that'd be really adorable. How adorable would that be, you know? So anyway, I assembled him as adorable as he is, stuck him to the card, and then added a sentiment from that Coastal Greeting set. And then for this other card, I'm going to stamp one of the greetings from the Treasure Hunt sentiment set. So there's like sentiments and a few other little elements. So I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments and then the little like treasure trail directly onto this background. So I used black ink, and then I ended up having to use, I think I used Dove ink, and I should have used Mushroom really, but just a gray ink for that. And then the mine stamps, those are from that Inquisitive Seagulls set that has the big speckly sand image. So I put those on there because, yeah, I love Finding Nemo. That's one of my favorite movies. I have so many favorite movies, but Finding Nemo, and yeah, the part with the seagulls and them all yelling mine, love it. So that was the final card. And now I'll show all the insides because I kept them mostly simple, but I did add a couple elements. So for this one, I just stamped one of the sentiments from the Coastal Greeting set and added a couple more little seashells. And then same thing with this card. I stamped the inside with a Coastal Greetings stamp and then added a couple of the florals. And then with card number 3, I stamped a sentiment from the new Hello Sunshine. It's just like a mini set. So I stamped that onto the inside, and for everything I just used black ink. All my card bases were also just Seagull cardstock, and everything is A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then on this one, on the inside, I stamped another sentiment from the Coastal Greeting set. And then finally on my little seagull card, that's where I adhered the treasure chest on the inside, and then stamped a sentiment from the Treasure Hunt sentiment set. And that was it. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. Thumbs upping and commenting helps a ton, and I really appreciate it. Like I said, links to everything will be in the description box below. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!